Hello and good evening, and welcome to our very first live instructor-led session of this Web3 and crypto trading bootcamp that we are delivering. It's our first one for this particular collective. I've been educating for a long time, so it's definitely not our first time delivering educational programs, but we're very, very excited to be bringing this new initiative to you. It's going to be lasting for over 8 weeks. Every session will be live and recorded, and it will be available for you in our group, which we're going to talk about in just a moment. So I have a few warnings for you before we jump in, okay? And get into the heart of everything today, because I think that it's really, really important to get these warnings right out from the gate. Okay, now one of the first things is that you're gonna have information overload. If you're serious and you're gonna come on this journey, and now the reason why it's called a boot camp is because think of it, you're getting really fit, you've got your wedding coming up, or your 50th birthday, or your 19th birthday, whatever it is, and you want to get really fit and you go and join a boot camp. Well, all that hard work, it's definitely going to be information overload. So if you do join us every Monday and Wednesday, I can guarantee you are going to learn a new language. It actually interesting. I'd love to know who here actually speaks multiple different languages. And I actually have a little poll here, and I'm getting, I think I've just put it up, and I'm having a bit of fun playing with these polls because we're going to have some really interactive sessions. And I really would be interested on who here speaks two different languages, because I don't, and I am, well, I guess I do because I speak English and Web3. It is like learning a whole new language. You have a lot of new terminologies, and I'll ask all of these people that are here saying that they speak multiple languages. Um, when you were learning that language, do you think after 2 months of learning it that you were an expert and you could speak fluently? I'm going to guess not. I'm guessing it's going to take you a little bit longer than 2 months. So we are going to set you up for success. We are going to accelerate your learning journey. We are going to fast track it, but it is going to be information overload. Okay. So I want to warn everybody that is committed and that is here for the long haul and is really committed to upskilling themselves and learning. Just be prepared for that, and just know that you do not need to master this in 8 weeks. Okay. We are compiling basically, 5 years of my personal learning as well as all the other expertise into this short 8 weeks. So just be really prepared for that. Also, this is an interactive program. We do want people to be interacting with us. We've got some activations that we are going to be facilitating. We'll be doing polls and quizzes and everything. So this really is designed for you, and for you to get the most out of it is for you to be the most engaging. Learning online has pros and cons. If you're not engaging, you're probably not going to get the most amount of it. And then the biggest warning I need right from the beginning, because we're not going to cover online security until week 3, but I need to be very vigilant to say, be careful of scammers. They are everywhere, and we are going to do our absolute best. When I say we're going to do introductions in a moment to try to make sure, is there anybody in this group that might be here trying to take new people into the industry and take advantage of them? They're want to learn how to trade, they're wanting to learn how to invest. And so these people often, just like the romance scams, if you're, the lonely people on the other end, they're looking for people that are here. Okay, so there may be a scammer in this call, and I can't promise you that there's no scammers in here. Okay, so it's very, very, very important. None of the team will ever DM you and ask you to send money. None of our sponsors are ever going to send you some sort of email asking you to send money or do anything. Okay, so if anything looks suspicious, what we ask you to do is let us know, because we can do the best to try to educate you and try to keep you super safe. But scams aren't just in crypto. There's AI scams, and we're going to talk about that in week 3. We're going to talk about AI scams. We don't really talk too much about romance scams, but we've all heard of them. They're all out there. But yes, very, very important. So I'm done drilling this, but I just really wanted to make sure that I gave you this warning for those of you that are really on this journey with us for the next 8 weeks. But please be very careful, and please come to week 3. I've got so much knowledge to share with you on how to stay safe and make sure that you don't get scammed. I've had so many people come to me who've been scammed, and I really don't want you to be one of them. All right, disclaimer, everything is for educational purposes only. We're going to be talking about crypto and trading. Renee's going to talk a lot about trading. We're going to introduce her in just a moment, but everything is for education purposes only, okay? This is not financial advice. I always recommend that you go and get a third party and do your own research. We are going to talk about do your own research. How do you do that? I remember when I got started and everyone was like, do your own research. I'm like, but I don't know how to do that. How do I look at a white paper and figure out if this is a scam project or not? How do I validate the blockchain? How do I actually know that it's not just going to be a rug pull? Well, that's what we're going to teach you, okay? But if you want to invest in anything, if you want to do crypto trading like Renee does, what she's going to teach you, just know that this is just education that we are providing you. And it's up to you to do your own research. And all of the content is being recorded and will be shared in our platform. So it's just important for whatever reason, if you just know that it's being recorded and it will be shared. All right. So this collective partnership currently, because it keeps growing as this is developing, but we're working with all things blockchain, which we're going to hear from Matt in just a few moments. EvolvH3R, which is my new initiative that I've been focusing in, and then Jana, Crypto Queen. You may have found this bootcamp through either of these channels, and that's because we have decided to kind of come together collectively to see how we can have more impact and have a positive impact on people and help educate them. And then a part of educating is we do partner with different community partners and education partners. And particularly for this program, we have partnered with Insightful, that's going to be more in line with the people that are really here for the crypto trading, or will be joining Renee on Wednesday. So we're going to give you an overview in just a second. But they really help people that are really trying to kind of not just learn how to trade, but do wealth creation and do a plan over 5 years. And that's a skill set that we don't particularly have here at ATB or EvolvH3R. So what we do is we partner with different education providers, because we believe that is very, very important. And I'm doing my 5-year plan. You should be doing your 5-year plan. Do you have any rules for taking money out, et cetera, et cetera. So a little bit more about them to come over the weeks. But yes, we're working with different education providers and different partners. And you might be wondering, okay, well, how are these initiatives all free? And it's because ATB and EvolvH3R have community partners like Bybit, who provide us resources to be able to allow us to be able to kind of provide these types of activations and be able to bring them to the community. So what are we going to be going through today? Just to give you a quick little overview, we're going to do quick introductions. Now, I just want to highlight that we're not going to do introductions every week. Okay, so this week is a little bit more of a, if you want to call it an orientation, it's the beginning. So we'll do quick little introductions this week, and then every other week we'll just jump straight into the lesson. We won't be going over this, but we want to make sure that everybody knows who we are and what we're going to be covering to make sure if this is the right room for you. Then I'm going to be jumping in. Today's lesson is a little bit of a smaller lesson just because we've got extra content that we're putting in here today with the orientation. But we are going to talk about what is money and what are stable coins before next week when we talk about what is crypto and blockchain and try to demystify it for all of you. And then we will talk about some homework, and you are going to be given lots of additional resource activities, and we'll do a Q&A session at the end. Okay, for those of you who have not had a chance to meet me and you found your way here, I can see a lot of names that look familiar, which is great, but there's also a lot of new people. I would like to say hello and thank you and welcome. My name is Danielle Marie. I wear multiple different hats in the space, and I have done for over the last 5 years. In 2019, November 2019, I was at the Blockchain Roadshow, and it was that night when I met Nathan Burns where I decided to go full tilt into blockchain education. And then I became the first, female and international student to complete the diploma and the advanced diploma of applied blockchain. And then I went on to study those and then teach them, and have been teaching, at TAFE Queensland for the last 3 years at TAFE Queensland. And now I am working on building our own education platform in alignment with all things blockchain, which I founded in November 2020 alongside some other community members. And then we have some amazing team members on the call, which we'll talk about in just a moment. And I do lots of other things. And then recently I founded EvolvH3R, which is all about focusing on how we're going to help support and upskill more women entering into the Web3 ecosystem. So EvolvH3R, we are on a mission of empowering over 1 million women. That's our big, huge, hairy, audacious goal, where we're looking to help them enter in the digital economy. What is the digital economy? Essentially, you can think of Web3, crypto, and AI, and we'll have these different verticals, and we will help them upskill themselves and be able to kind of enter into these ecosystems. And how are we going to do that? We're going to do that through 3 pillars, okay? And these pillars are our mentorship. We have a mentorship program. I'm not going to talk too much about that tonight because we have a lot to get through. Then we're going to do it through education, programs like this. These are these programs that we are going to be delivering online. For example, we've got this one going for 8 weeks, and we'll have other different types of educationals and short courses coming to you soon. And then community. Community is at our heart, and we will have online communities, we have in-person communities, we will have local, we will have global, and it's all about us kind of bringing these 3 pillars together to be able to achieve our overall goal of supporting more women in the ecosystem, because it is a male-dominated industry, and it is nice when you are an only female. And I actually spoke to 3 women, I think, this week, were that they're only woman in a all-male team. So it's nice when you're one woman that is an all-male, that you have other women that you can connect with and can kind of collaborate, and then how do we also support more women to come in? So that's the overall mission and initiative of what EvolvH3R is trying to achieve. How are we going to achieve that? We are partnering with impact partners. And this will vary from social impact partners such as Koala Pay, all the way down to different education providers, and Women of DECA, which is a working group of DECA, which is based here in Australia, to ETH Women in Blockchain Futures Conference, which is all over on the other side of the world in North America. So we collaborate with these people so that we can bring you more education, more events, and more value through our partners. Now, I'm going to hand it over to Matt to introduce himself and his role. He's got a very significant role. He is the chairman and community manager for all things blockchain, and also has recently taken the partnerships manager for EvolvH3R. So Matt, I'm going to hand it over to you to let you introduce yourself properly and tell us a little bit about ATB.
Thanks, Danielle. It's wonderful to be here. This has been many weeks and months in the planning and the making, and it's really exciting to be partnering with EvolvH3R. So Danielle and I are both wearing a couple of different hats here. Danielle is the founder of ATB, and I'm as the current chairperson, but we're really thrilled to be associated with this educational program and the social impact that we're hoping that it's going to make with some really exciting collaboration partners, as you've seen there. I'm a career technologist. I wear a number of hats myself, but I'm best known in the space for heading up all things blockchain, where we hold monthly in-person events. We meet every first Tuesday in Brisbane, and we also stream our events live to the world on Zoom, right here on Zoom. We've been going for 5 years. As I think Daniel mentioned, we had those 12 in-person events. We hold a range of different online events as well, usually with our sponsors, of whom Bybit is one. And we can range anywhere between 60 and 120 people in person at our events. We're also going international now, where we've just put in place events in Singapore that are coming up at Token 2049, and we're about to go public on that. There's a little bit of alpha. We're reaching at least 3,500 people now, probably more. That number's probably a bit conservative, depending on, because we have numerous platforms, the way we contact people. But at our heart, as Danielle said, similar to EvolvH3R, we're all about community and education, and really just being chain agnostic, I think, is the thing that denotes all things blockchain the best. But we hope you'll come along to one of our events soon. We are you're able to find us on meetup.com, and also Luma. You'll find all things blockchain, and we also cross promote a lot, so you'll be finding out more through the EvolvH3R platform as well. But I think that's all from me tonight, Danielle. People are welcome to sign up to our monthly newsletter there with the QR code on screen. And as Danielle mentioned, all tonight's content and the upcoming sessions will be recorded for later viewing. So thanks, Danielle. Thanks for the intro.
Oh, thank you very much, Matt. And I'll just tag on there. The newsletter is more like a community hub. So we don't do news. What we do is we share all of the upcoming events and past events, both locally and then regionally. So what's happening in Sydney, what's happening in Melbourne, what conferences are coming up. So we've got the Australian Crypto Convention, we've got New Zealand, we've got Crypto Winter. So this is kind of your like community hub where you can get all of that information, and we share some of the recordings from, because we live stream all of our ATB events. So even if you cannot join us in Brisbane, you can tune in and you can participate. So please, even if you're not in Brisbane, join the ATB community. So what are we going to be going over? So we've broken it down into Web3 basics and crypto basics. And I'm going to bring Renee up in just a moment for her to do a quick introduction and just give you a quick overview of what she's going to be covering. But Renee's lessons will be delivered on Wednesday, which are focused on the crypto trading basics. I will be focusing on the basics of Web3. What is that? Everything from money, what we're going to talk about today, to understanding crypto and blockchain. Really important, how to stay safe and avoid those mistakes that beginners make. Then we're going to talk about how you actually buy crypto, the differences between wallets, cold wallets, hot wallets, private seeds. How do you store them? Where do you keep them? Are they in a safe? Do you use a centralized exchange? How do you manage 12 different private keys? Then we'll jump into the different types of blockchains, and then we'll wrap it up into a little bit more kind of deeper topics such as DAOs and DPINs. And then at the very end, we'll kind of talk about what is dollar cost averaging, what are those next steps for you on your journey. So I'm going to hand it over to Renee if she is there. Renee, are you there? I think I saw you tune in.
Yeah, I'm here now. Hello.
Oh, great. I can't see you. Why don't you just introduce yourself a little bit to people? And then I've got the next slide, which you can kind of just go over briefly of what they're going to be learning.
Okay, perfect. So, hi, I'm Renee. I've been trading crypto since 2021. That's when I actually first met the All Things Blockchain team and became a part of the team back in 2021. So I'm super passionate about educating people about trading crypto, because it's not actually, I don't actually know a lot of traders like in real life. So it's always great to that community of people who also trade. A lot of people are hodlers, like they're long-term investors. But I particularly am a day trader, so I day trade for a company called Trader. So basically, yeah, I've been doing that since 2021, the day trading kind of side. But what I really want to teach people is the basics of how to buy and sell trades, how to use basic indicators, how to look at charts, how to read a chart, basic fundamental analysis like news trading, all that sort of thing. Because once you get past the hodl style of investing, it's a whole other world of how to day trade. You need to learn about leverage, you need to learn about risk management. I'm going to go to all of those things in my 8 weeks. So you can see right here, doing an introduction, what is technical analysis, and then also there's a differential of what is fundamental analysis, which will also go through. My favorite indicators, what I use, how to read the candlestick charts, obviously. And then I'm actually going to go into my specific style of trading that I've developed. I'm calling it Artemis Alpha. And it's specific for Australia and Europe in particular, because I trade Asia and London. Because America, for you guys, if you are in America, you're probably still asleep right now. New York doesn't actually open in Australia until 11:30 p.m. So my specific style is based around trading in Asia and in Europe. So that's my particular alpha strategy, and then we'll finish off with what's really important, which is psychology and reflection, journaling, all that sort of stuff.
Awesome. That's amazing. Don't ask me anything about crypto and trading because I cannot help you. All of those questions go to Renee. We will jump into the group a little bit, maybe towards the end. But there are two different channels in there. So there'll be a channel where if you have a specific question about trading, you would go in there, and then Renee would be there to help you. You can also send her a DM on the platform as well. But you will be hearing more from her. She will be delivering your lessons every Wednesday. So Wednesday night, same time, same place. Oh, that's actually a bit of housekeeping I did not mention at the start. I highly recommend that if you are going to be tuning into this every single week, that you bookmark that Zoom link, because it's the same class. So same class for Monday nights and Wednesday nights. We keep it simple. Just bookmark it, turn up. And if you can't turn up, don't worry about it. They will be recorded and you can join the group. All right. Thank you so much, Renee. You can take the rest of the evening off and we'll see you on Wednesday. All right. Join the game. What does that mean? Oh, we're going to have some exciting prizes that we are going to be giving away, and I'll go through those in a moment. Now, this platform, and I would like to just a little disclosure here that this is a new education platform for us. I've used lots of LMSs. I've built lots of LMSs working for different RTOs. So it's not my first rodeo, but it is a new platform. But we have set up some quizzes where you get points. If you like, you comment. We'll go through all of those. I'll be sending out a post afterwards, actually tomorrow after this session, on the different activities and things that you can do. And we'll go over that a little bit at the end. But after each lesson, for example, after today's lesson, we'll be sharing a quiz link. And if you do that quiz, you get points. If you fill in a form, then you get points. If you like, post, or comment, you get points. So the idea is throughout the 8 weeks, we will be giving away prizes. And I'm very confident that these prize packages are going to grow over time. But to start off with, we have got cold, hard cash on the line. Well, not cash, stable coins, which we are going to talk about in just a moment. But $100 in USDT. I don't know who's really quick at math or wants to tell me the Australian exchange rate, because I know we got a lot of Australians, considering that we're based in Australia. But I think off the top of my head, I think that maybe is like, what, 150 Australian? If you're tuning in from somewhere else, I'm not sure what the exchange rate is. Then we have some VIP merch boxes. So as Matt had mentioned earlier, Bybit is one of the sponsors of ATV, and they're also supporting us here at EvolvH3R. And we asked them, could they give away some cool merch boxes? So they said yes. Then we asked our community partner, Australian Crypto Convention, which is in Sydney in November, if we could give away some tickets, and they said yes. And then we're also giving away an EvolvH3R scholarship, which I'll talk about more later in due time. But for any of the gentlemen that are in the room, this particular scholarship is for females only, but this could be for your sister, your mom, your wife, your friend, your colleague, your daughter. It could be for your neighbor. You could give it away to anybody. But the scholarship program is to more help with them in upskilling and transitioning into working in the Web3 space. But those are the prizes that we have up for grabs. So please just engage. That's all you've got to do. Learn and earn. That is the name of the game. So we're going to jump into the first lesson of today. But before we do that, I know that I had one more poll in here I wanted to do. And so we're going to, oh, maybe I didn't do it correctly. So maybe I'm going to, yes, and save. Oh, I think I have to end the first poll. Okay. All right, we might just leave that. Sorry, folks. I had another poll, but I don't want to waste too much time.
There is an introduction one. Is that the one you're looking for?
I was trying to do it, but it's not letting me launch it. So
Okay.
I was just gonna move on. But
Okay.
what I'll do is I'll just ask the question and you can tell me in the chat. Who here has already purchased crypto at some point? And I don't even, it could be $5 worth or $10 worth. Just you've actually purchased crypto once before. I just want to know the yeses, and then if there's a no, that means that you have. So we've got a lot of yeses in here. Okay. So that's very, very, very promising. So for a lot of you, some of this knowledge might be the first couple of weeks might be a little bit of a refresher for you. We might cover some new things that you haven't heard of before, but it might be, you know, in weeks 3, 4, 5, 6 that we start talking about some of the other things like investment DAOs and DPINs and you know, different types of ways that you can earn, you know, stable coins, etc. You know, stick with it. If you have, you may find some of this stuff just a little bit of a refresher. So it's really, really important. Now, I know a majority of you are like, okay, I want to learn what is crypto, what is blockchain, how does it work? How do I make money? And you want to jump into that right away. But before you can really appreciate and understand what crypto is, I think you really need to understand what is money. And then we are going to be talking about probably one of the most talked about use case at the moment, or the biggest use case for blockchain technology, which we're going to talk about next week, is stablecoins. So this is why we're starting this week off with, it's really important for you to understand what stablecoins are, and we are not even going to touch the surface of different types of regulation. We're not going to talk about Europe. We're not going to talk about AUDD. We're not going to talk about different types. We are going to give you an overview because, as I said to you, it's going to be information overload. And this is why this is a boot camp, because we are going to give you so much information. So get your pen and paper out, or make sure that you've got your little notes there, because a lot of the times I'm going to say, write this down, go and research it, because we don't have enough time. Otherwise, we would be here, you know, for hours and hours and hours every single night. But really, really important for you to understand what is money. And then we do have a special offer because we want this to be practical. So Renee is going to be doing a lot of demo stuff. So in her classes, you're going to be very hands-on. So you are going to need a demo account. We do have practical exercises that you're going to be doing in this class, such as creating a wallet and all these sorts of things. But for those of you that have never spent stable coins and you want that opportunity, we've got a little special offer that if you sign up with the QR code there, which, full disclosure, is our affiliate link, and we will be teaching more about affiliate and affiliate marketing, and we actually are going to have an affiliate program ourselves down the track, so we'll talk more about that later and different ways that you can earn money within the crypto space. But we're doing this as just a little bit of a special kind of boot camp offer for people that haven't had the opportunity to actually spend stable coins. It's really easy. Like, I've actually got it. I don't think you can see it, but I've got it on my Apple Wallet, and I also have the hard card as well. Really easy to spend. So we've kind of just done this to help people learn that it's actually really easy to spend stable coins, which we're going to talk about. And then, so like, if you've got Bitcoin or Ethereum or any other asset that you end up selling and you convert it to stable coins, how are you going to spend it, right? That's great. It's like, okay, great, I made a whole bunch of profit. Now how am I going to spend it? Well, you could use something like the Bybit card. Of course, there's lots of different options, and throughout the course, we talk about other different tools and partners that we work with. Bybit is just one of them, okay? And so this is one of the ones that I personally use, so this is why we're using it as an example, but there's lots of options out there for you. All right, what is money? I think that for me personally, growing up, I don't know, it really kind of depended on your environment, I believe, to really understand what money was and how to make it and how to make money work for you. But what we are not even gonna dive too deep into it. We are just gonna do very, very, very high level. You could probably do a whole course. We could probably do 8 lessons just on the history of money and what it is and how it's kind of come into an existence. But what I'm really wanting to just paint a picture here is for you to really understand, what is it that we use money for? So we use it as a medium of an exchange. So it's like, okay, to buy and sell goods or products. We also use it as a store of value, although people now are realizing that keeping your money saved in the bank actually depreciates. And we could probably do a whole lesson on that. I'd love to bring in Rachel Jones, who's amazing at talking this topic. But it's considered a store of value, but I would challenge that at best. And then a unit of account. It's just a way that we try to measure something. It's like, okay, well, great, this phone is worth $1,000. So it's like, okay, so it's a way that we try to measure the value of any type of asset. So then when we think a little bit deeper, okay, so really we're just keeping a record, of some sort of payment or some sort of kind of good or service. But this fiat currency it's considered a legal tender by the government. And we're going to talk a little bit about how this fiat currency is kind of brought into existence. But when you actually really start to do your homework, and we have some additional resources, as I said to you, we're just going to touch the surface here tonight. But if you watch some of these other additional educationals and read it, depending on, we have videos for the people like me that are into that compared to the people that enjoy reading. We also have articles for you, but it's really important to understand that the fiat currency today, your Australian dollars, your US dollars, has no value to it anymore. Okay, it's only because the governments have basically led us to believe, in my opinion, that it's of value. Now, people will say, oh, it's backed by gold. Well, that stopped in 1971. And I actually think I'm going to talk a little bit about that in the next slide. So let's talk about the evolution of money. So, if you think back into the days, your whole barter, okay, I'll give you a sheep for some sugar, and, that kind of old barter system. And then we kind of transitioned into the gold and metals industry. They say about every 100 years is when we kind of go through a financial shift. And if you actually do your, start to do your homework and do your math, I think it was, don't quote me on this, because I'm really bad at history, and if anybody knows, I think it was 1930s or something when this whole Federal Reserve and everything started. So we're due is basically what I'm saying. I personally believe that we are in the middle of the next financial revolution, and we're living and breathing in the middle of it as we speak. Then we transition from kind of trading, gold and silver coins into fiat, this government issued currency that is still where we're at, kind of today in existence. But then we added this digital component. So, gosh, I used to have a chart that had the years on it. But like early 19, the dot-com boom, the late 19, the 90s, early 2000s, it's really when credit cards and online payments and these e-commerce stores and everything really kind of came into play. So we're slowly kind of transitioning the evolution of how we actually use and interact with money. Who here has cash in their wallet right now? Like, I would love to see if I said to you, do you have a $20 note in your pocket? I would love to know. We've got a few guesses. We got a no, we've got a yes, we got a yes. It's a little bit of a mix. We've got some yes, more yeses probably because we got more a little, because we've got more libertarians probably, but a majority of people don't carry cash. They're all gone digital. Then I believe this is where we are going, cryptocurrencies and stable coins. And we're going to talk about stable coins tonight, get a good understanding of them. I'm gonna decline that. And we are going to talk about how it's the next evolution of money. And I find that it's very interesting times. Now, we're not going to talk about macro economics or macro and microeconomics in today's lesson, but like if you are educating yourself on what's currently happening. It's very, very interesting. More and more people are waking up to the power of stable coins and Bitcoin. And that's what we are going to unpack over the next 8 weeks. But let's just kind of really think about how is money, oops, pardon me, I'm going the wrong way. Sorry, everyone. There we go. How is money made, if you think about it? Now, we're not going to go too deep in here because we are not here to learn the history of money and really kind of like understand the ins and outs. But I'm just trying to get a picture to you that's essential banks, okay, that essentially created this monetary policy. Somebody was actually telling me that, if you think about it, like way back in the day, there's like a handful of people that basically created the system that we're still currently using today. And these banks, these commercial banks, create 95% of the money supply through this fractional reserve lending. Now, even myself, I am not an expert in, probably explaining, but it's really, really important that you take some time to kind of watch a couple of videos to really understand that really there's only about 2 to 5%, they say, of actual cash. All right. So have you ever heard of a bank run, or have you seen in some of these countries? I think it was like in 2013 and, in Cyprus, where the banks, you're an unsecured creditor to the bank. What does that mean? That means that all of your money in the bank actually is not yours. So even though you have access to it, if the bank decided, and I think it was the bail-in law, which was passed in 2018 here in Australia, if my memory serves me correctly, if the government wanted to take money out of your account and freeze they can do that. it is the law. You are an unsecured creditor. And so when you actually take the time to really understand how money is made and how there's always interest on everything, and all we are doing is accruing debt, you really then start to understand why Bitcoin was created, which we are going to talk about next week. But for you to get the most undervalue and most understanding out of why Bitcoin, I encourage you to go and watch a couple of videos. We've got a good one in here. We've got some good additional resources to understand the current, kind of monetary policy and financial ecosystem that we live in and why it's broken and it's not working. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the future of money. Where are we going? So I mentioned that since the gold standard in 1971, there is no more they are just printing money. And this is why we just keep getting in more and more debt and having all of this inflation, and really just retains its value because people around the world value it and they trust, for example, USD. And there's a lot of conversations around that. Is America going to lose, being the kind of dominant currency? What is going to be the next dominant currency? Well, we obviously, everybody that is on this call, and the coaches and the people that are here, we believe that the future of money is stable coins and cryptocurrency, and that we are in the process of changing our kind of financial ecosystem. So this technology, we use the terminology called Web3 and blockchain. We're going to unpack all of that over the next 8 weeks, but it's essentially allowing this new opportunity to kind of create this new digital currency. But the differences between this digital currency and the ones that the central banks basically just print numbers on a screen, printing money, is that we have currencies like Bitcoin, which we're going to talk about next week. But the characters of Bitcoin is that it's scarce, so you can't print anymore. So it's programmable money. And it basically has all of the kind of characteristics of money, but it is not controlled by a government, and there's no central entity that is controlling it. And we're going to unpack all of that next week, as we dive deeper into what is crypto. But I do want to give you an overview, especially for those of you that are very, very new. And this is, maybe one of your first couple of videos about learning what is crypto. So firstly, it is decentralized. That means that there is no central control or authority. Now, it's very, very important to know that not all cryptos or blockchains are fully decentralized. And we are going to talk about that more in week 5 when we talk about the differences between different blockchains. Okay, what's the difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum? And what about, different types of change? Solana, is that considered decentralized? So we'll unpack that, okay? But I just really want to highlight, just because that's called a crypto or a blockchain doesn't mean that it's decentralized. And it takes a little bit of time to fully understand why. And we'll go over that. It's borderless. There's no times. It operates 24/7. It's not like the other market, stock market. It never closes. It's not like banks. It's open 24/7. And it's not controlled by any banks or governments. It is independent. With that, you do have to be in control of your own assets. And we are going to talk about that. How do you, if you want to be in control of your asset and you don't want the bank to be able to freeze your account and take your money, okay, no problem. You can have your digital assets in a wallet and you can control them, but then you also need to learn how to keep that safe. How do you make sure that you do not lose your seed phrases? How do you make sure that you keep them in safe places? And we'll go over that in week 4. So let's just talk about what is crypto on a very high level, because as I said, next week we're going to dive into it much deeper. We're going to talk about crypto, we're going to talk about blockchain in much deeper level, but just high level. It essentially is a digital currency that uses cryptography. Now, cryptography is nothing new. Okay, we have been in and around cryptography for a while, but it's the way that we're using the cryptography, which we'll unpack when we talk about the different blockchains and the different consensus mechanisms on how it is creating this digital currency that is built on top of the blockchain that uses this shared ledger that makes it secure, and it makes it so that you cannot hack or tamper. And it's also not controlled by the central authorities because we use these things called consensus mechanisms, which we'll talk about next week. So please, as I mentioned, it can be a little bit of information overload. So this is why I'm just trying to paint the picture for you today, and understanding that for you to really get the most amount of value of understanding why cryptocurrency and what it is, what it is, you have to understand why. And in order to understand the why, you need to understand our current financial ecosystem and why it's broken. And if you can spend a little bit of time, which is going to be your homework this week, of really making sure that you understand what is money and how is it currently integrated, it's going to make your job a little bit easier. So now we're going to talk about stablecoins. Now, just out of curiosity here, I see people chatting away and sharing information, which is fantastic. Who here already uses stable coins on a regular basis? You either trade them or you spend them. Maybe you get paid in stable coins. Martin does. What do you do? Do you use them to trade, or do you have like a card, and then when you take profit, so you use it to spend, trade? Okay. Yeah, just interested. So if you don't know what stable coins are, so it's a token, and we'll unpack what different types of tokens are, okay? But there can be cryptocurrency tokens, there can be NFT tokens, and we'll go through that all in next week, no, a couple more weeks. But it is pegged to it generally a a fiat currency, so usually USD or euro, but it could also be back to gold, for example. So there are different types of stable coins that are on the market. Now, these are just some examples of some of the more popular ones that are used. So USDT, it's probably been around the longest, probably the most widely used stablecoin. USDC, which is backed by a company called Circle, and Coinbase. If you haven't heard about Coinbase, publicly listed company, they're a really large exchange. And then we've got DAI, which is a more of a kind of community governed, and we're going to unpack a little bit on a deeper level what these different types of stable coins as we go through. But it's really kind of just important that they know that they're supposed to be stable, which means that they're supposed to be pegged to whatever asset that whatever the price of that asset is. So the most popular ones are generally backed to the US dollar currently. So what are some different types of collateral? So as I just mentioned previously, you've got your fiat backed, but there are opportunities where you can do crypto backed over collateralized loans. Now, we are not going to talk too much about that today. I think it's in week 6 or 7 where we talk about, DeFi on a little bit of a deeper level. So we'll kind of circle back to that, but that's kind of a bit more of a intermediate to advanced topic, so we're not going to go too deep on that in these first couple of lessons. We'll build up our terminology, and we'll build up our understanding and our language before we start kind of diving into these type of topics, such as algorithmic stablecoins. But I like to highlight these because you definitely want to be very, very careful with these crypto-backed algorithmic stablecoins, because this is where a lot of, I would consider them a little bit more high risk. And I would definitely recommend all beginners just to kind of be staying with USDT or USDC for now. We've also actually just partnered with a Glow Dollar, which is also a new social goods stablecoin. So I'm very interested to learn more about that. You'll see here how I have lessons learned from the Luna crash. I don't, if anybody can, anyone remember what year that happened? I think it was in 2022. I'm not going to go into it, but please, it was a massive lesson of algorithmic stablecoins. So it's always good to learn about the lessons that we have learned from the industry, such as the Luna crash, such as the FTX crash. Okay, so let's think about some of these key features of stablecoins and why are they becoming so popular, and why is there so much regulation discussion going on, all over the world. So you've got, is it MiCA in Europe? You've got the US. I can't remember the names of the different types of bills that they were just passing. I know there's lots of discussion happening here also in Australia. So low volatility. Here's the thing is, when I was very first getting into the space here in Brisbane, for those of you that are in Australia and you're familiar with it, they have the Valley, the Fortitude Valley, and they had this crypto valley, and they had all these merchants that they were trying to teach to take Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And the problem was, obviously what it was, getting people and the payment machines and all that sort of stuff. But then it was the businesses didn't, they couldn't afford to be able to, uh, whatever the volatility, like, because we all know that Bitcoin can go up or down in like 10 or 20% in like, even just a couple of hours. So they needed a bit more kind of stability. And so stable coins really allow that, especially if you're trading, as Martin said, and I'm sure Renee is going to talk about this in her classes. But you have a way of basically kind of holding a digital asset, but without having to take it back out, if you want to say, from the Web3 world back to the Web2 world. And I'll unpack that as we talk more about Web2 and Web3 and blockchain next week. But basically, just know that it just allows that Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, you can get some really good gains. But if you want to keep a stable price, for whatever reason, you definitely want it to be in stable coins. High liquidity, okay, they're available 24/7 on centralized and decentralized exchanges. Once again, we're going to talk about the differences about those in the coming weeks. Transparent reserves. So this will depend on what stablecoin, but a lot of them have regular audits that you can go in. I think it was in Abu Dhabi, and I was listening to a guy from Circle, and they were saying that you can go on there. I personally haven't done it yet, but you can go on and you can look, and they should have audits. We actually talk about proof of reserves, and a little bit about like exchanges and how you check basically, and are those assets actually there. Fast settlement, okay, so you can transfer and settle globally and instantly for a fraction of the price, as you can, compared to, say, platforms such as like Wise or Stripe or banks of any of that nature. And then programmability. We're going to talk about this a little bit. This is a bit more of an advanced topic, but we're going to talk about smart contracts and dApps, which are decentralized applications. And this basically just allows us to kind of remove the middleman with code. And so we'll unpack that as we kind of go through the entire program. So what are some different ways that we can use stable coins? Okay, now it's really quite easy. That's why we told you about the card, because we really just want to show people how easy it is to spend. Okay, as long as you can get a Bybit card in your jurisdiction, it's very, very easy. You don't even have to get the card in the mail. You just get it and put it digitally. But global transfers, really easy to send money through stable coins, much faster and easier over doing a bank transfer. Online payments, so it's becoming more and more popular now that you can play, and there's lots of different plugins that you can use to be able to kind of accept cryptocurrency, especially stable coins, on your platforms. Inflation protection. So there's a lot of countries, especially that have very, very high inflation. They do not want to keep their money in their dollars and their local currencies because of the inflation. So then they are keeping them in the stable coins, which are US dollars, and then DeFi applications. So as I mentioned, we will talk a little bit more about DeFi applications. I believe it's in week 6. And we'll talk a little bit more about how you can interact with DeFi, but using stable coins is a great use case of how you can use stable coins. So how can you spend them? You could buy something like an NFT. If you don't know what an NFT is, a non-fungible token, we'll talk about the differences between NFTs and what they are next week. And then a little bit deeper, we'll go through it, I believe, in week 7. But you can actually pay invoices and bills. There's many different platforms that you can use. I think Living Room of Satoshi is one popular one here in Australia. There's a few other ones. I personally just have my Bybit card and I just kind of pay for things using that. But I also do pay invoices using stablecoins as well. So and I invoice in stablecoins. It's actually my preferred method. And then, as I mentioned earlier, you can spend it like cash. So you can just use a card and it's just as if like you're spending a credit card, just like a Visa or MasterCard. Okay, so we're going to recap. I thought I had annotations. Oh, I had an extra slide there. Yes, I forgot to delete that one. All right, money. What is money? It is a medium exchange, a unit account, store of value. Then we are relying on the governments. It has no intrinsic value. All right. So just remember that we are just basically relying on the government because it gives its value. And most of our currency is in digital. There's not very much physical cash. Cryptocurrencies, we talked about those and how they are a decentralized digital asset, and we are going to jump much deeper into them next week. So next week, we're not going to have the introductions and all of that. We're going to spend pretty much the whole hour we are going to spend on the lesson because there is so much information to get through. But I wanted to take it nice and light and easy for our first day. We are going to talk about how blockchain is the foundation of all cryptocurrencies, and we will dive deeper into what is blockchain and how it works and why it is basically the fundamentals of the Web3 industry. So we talked about stablecoins and what are they and how they are backed and pegged to an asset such as USD. And then we talked about how different ways that we can actually spend, these stablecoins. So that was a quick little recap. Now, next week, as I mentioned, we're going to dive a lot deeper. So as I mentioned before, every Monday night is the Web3 Basics. Every Wednesday night with Renee is talking more about crypto trading basics. So for those of you that are wanting to learn how to trade, please tap into Wednesday night. As I mentioned previously, you can get 5 USDT on us. Now, Bybit has their own special offer that if you actually deposit 100 USDT, so depending on where you're based, you actually get an extra 20. So if you deposit 100, you're going to get an extra 20 from Bybit. You'll get an extra 5 from us. And then that would be 20, you'd get $25 to do whatever you would want with. Place a trade, play around, spend it, buy yourself a coffee, you could do whatever you want with it. So if you are interested in that, you can reach out to any of our team members if you have any questions regarding that. All right. Lastly, we talked about Finsightful at the beginning. Now, Ben, we did a webinar. If any of you were here with us last week, we did a wealth mindset, and Ben kind of shared their wealth mindset and what they do over at Finsightful. But you can also get a free coaching call with them. So, and we'll talk a little bit more about them next week as well. And we're going to be bringing them in as some guest speakers throughout the 8-week crypto trading basics. But you can definitely get a free coaching call session with them to see if what they're doing is in alignment with what you're looking for. If you're at a stage where you want to plan for the next 5 years and you want crypto trading, because they do different types of crypto trading as well as Renee. So Renee has her style, they have their style. You have to find what style works best for you if you're going to be a crypto trader. So we would highly recommend that you check them out if that is of interest to you. All right, so we've got your homework. This is a great channel, that the Hidden Secrets of Money, so you can watch that. We've got a couple of other articles for those of you that like to read. Now, we've got a quiz. Now, remember, in the start, I said that we were going to be playing games throughout this 8 weeks, and that we're going to be giving away prizes to the person that accumulates the most amount of points at the end of the 8 weeks. So every week we're going to have quizzes. Now, where do you access those quizzes? Very good question. Inside of the group. So we are, after each lesson, so after this lesson, I will go in there and I will post the slides, the PDF of the slides. I will post the link to this week's quiz. And then we will also put the recording inside of the platform, inside of the group. I know many of you have already dived into the group. We are going to continuously keep building that out. There's going to be more and more resources every single week that are going to be added in there for you. So that's going to be your resource hub for everything. And if you do these quizzes, then you're also going to earn some points, which gets you in the draw. So every week you're going to have an opportunity to complete 2 quizzes. If you do your Bybit card, and the way that you actually get to claim your USD, you have to fill in a form, so you get points for that. You get points for liking and commenting. So we will do a post on how you can earn points and what you need to do. But we will be doing that over the next 8 weeks, and we'll be doing extra challenges and things over the 8 weeks. And then we'll be giving away those prizes at the end. So I know that was a jam-packed session, and I'm proud of myself. We did it in under an hour. But what I would like to do now is open it up to some questions, some Q&A. It could be about anything that we talked about today. It could be about the whole 8 weeks. It could be about the platform. Maybe you're having an issue getting access to the group. It could be anything. Aaron, is Tether also regulated? I believe so. That's actually a really good question. I don't think it's as regulated as USDC, to be honest with you, but I would actually have to come back to you on a different. I just want to say thank you. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. But if nobody has any questions, that is us for today. How practical is spending stable coins if you have to pay tax on fluctuations? Oh, very good question. That would definitely be a great question for some of the crypto tax accountants. We work with Sila. They're also one of our sponsors. There's a few different other platforms out there. But you do have to take it into consideration. I leave that up to my accountant, and so I'm probably not going to be the best at explaining it. But yeah, you do need to think about from when you received it to then when you spent it, and if there was a fluctuation, if there was a gains and there was a capital gains, or if there was a loss. So technically, you do have to do those calculations. How they do those, I know that they use a software, so Sila has a software, but that would be definitely a really good question for Sila, either for Nick or Marina, who are the founders, and we could definitely bring them in and do a workshop with them on crypto and tax. But that is a very good question, but I wouldn't worry about it, but it is something that you do have to take into consideration. All right. Where do we find the readings? So on these slides here, there are links in here. So I'm going to be sharing this in the group. So as soon as we stop this recording, I'll be sharing the PDF in there. I'll be sharing the link to this week's quiz. So you do need to go inside of the group to gain access to your quiz and your additional readings. And then as the week progresses, we'll keep putting more and more and more resources in the platform for you. Also, the last thing I'll say before I finish up this recording, whether you're watching the recording or whether you're here with us live, this is a new platform for us, as I said, that we're building out. So we're open to suggestions, feedbacks, comments, things that we can add as we build it out and grow. So we're all about a community that is about peer-to-peer learning and supporting each other. So please, we would love for you to reach out to us, provide any feedback, or especially if you think there might be a scam or somebody, please DM one of us in the group and one of the admins for us to be able to help. So that's it for me today. Thank you so much, everyone. I am going to press the stop recording. I will see you next week. And for those of you that do have any last minute questions, I will be sticking around a little bit. And don't forget to join us on Wednesday night with Renee, where we'll be talking about crypto trading.